Picture the same person living 6 different salaries: 30,000, 100, a million. 6 different lives, 6 different faces at the door. And the strange part is the one who ends up free is rarely the one earning the most. It always starts with a number on an offer letter, and that number quietly rewires how you see yourself before you have earned a cent of it. A salary is not just pay, it is a story you start telling about your own worth. At 30,000, every dollar already has a name before it arrives. Rent, gas, groceries, the tired math you do in the checkout line. It is not a lifestyle, it is a negotiation with the month, and the month rarely blinks first. And here's the cruelty nobody warns you about. At the bottom, the system charges you the most. Overdraft fees, deposits, deposits on deposits. Being broke is expensive in a way the comfortable never have to think about. So of course you decide the whole answer is simply more salary, a bigger number. You are certain that once the income climbs, the pressure lifts. You are half right, and the half you are wrong about will quietly cost you a decade. At 45,000, you finally breathe. A little slack in the budget, a cushion you never had. And right there in that first easy exhale, the most expensive habit of your life quietly begins. You start to upgrade. The nicer apartment, the newer car with the small monthly payment, the subscriptions you forget you have. None of it feels reckless. Each choice is reasonable on its own. Together they quietly eat every dollar the raise was supposed to free. At 60,000, you feel like you finally made it to the middle. And somehow at the exact same time, you feel further behind than ever. Because now you can see the next tier clearly, and the wanting has grown faster than the earning. This is the tax nobody puts on a payslip, the coworker with the better car, the feed full of people who look like they solved it. Every raise you get is measured not against your old life, but against theirs. And theirs is a highlight reel. Then comes the raise you were sure would change everything. 75,000. And within 3 months, it is simply gone. Not wasted, absorbed. Your life quietly expanded to swallow it, and you feel exactly as stretched as before. But there's always one person at your level who breaks the pattern. Same salary, same office, yet their life never inflates. Same old car, same small place, a faint private smile. Everyone thinks they are behind. They are the furthest ahead. Then you cross 100,000. The number you once whispered like a finish line, and it feels strangely small. Smaller than the dream promised, because a finish line once you reach it has a habit of quietly turning into a starting block. 100,000 sounds like freedom until it arrives. Then taxes take a slice. The city takes another. The lifestyle you quietly built takes the rest. On paper, you are wealthy. In your account, you are simply a more expensive version of stuck. And this is where the treatment changes. At 100,000, lenders start to smile. Pre-approved offers arrive. A banker suggests you can afford so much more. The system does not want to help you save it. It wants to help you spend it. So at 100,000, two people quietly split apart. One hears you can afford more and buys the bigger life. The other hears the same thing and buys quiet ownership instead. Same salary. Same day. Two completely different futures begin. Climb to 150 and a new trap appears. The golden handcuffs. The mortgage, the payments, the life that now requires this exact salary to survive. You earn more than ever, and somehow you can walk away from less than ever. The higher the salary, the louder the cage. The boss you would have left at 40,000, you now tolerate at 150. Not because it got better, because your life got more expensive, and freedom quietly became unaffordable. But the quiet builder at 150 looks almost identical to who they were at 60. Same apartment, same calm. The only thing that grew is a number no one else can see, and a freedom no raise could ever buy them. At $250,000, the money gets real, and so does the pressure. The circle changes. New friends with new toys. A quiet competition you never agreed to enter where the prize is looking like you belong among people also faking it. Up here, the spending disguises itself as belonging. The club, the watch, the second home you visit twice a year. Each one bought to quiet a fear that you are not really one of them. And the fear, it turns out, is never actually for sale. Then one ordinary quarter the ground moves. A hiring freeze, a round of cuts, a market that turns red overnight. And suddenly, every salary tier gets the same brutal test. Not how much do you earn. How long could you survive without earning at all? The one who bought the bigger life panics. Every payment is now a threat. The quiet builder earning the very same salary simply sleeps. Not because he is braver. Because he left himself margin, and margin is the only real form of calm money buys. At $500,000 a new problem appears, and it is not money. It is time. Your calendar is a fortress of meetings. You can finally afford almost anything except an unhurried Tuesday. And slowly you realize what the ladder quietly took to get you here. That is the moment the whole climb quietly reframes. You chase the next rung believing the top was the point. But every rung only ever bought you a longer view of the next one. The ladder was never a destination. It was a treadmill with a nicer railing. At 750,000 people start assuming things about you. That you are lucky, that it was easy, that you are somehow a different kind of person now. You learn to let them assume and to keep the real story quietly to yourself. So the mask goes on for good. You stop telling people your salary, not from shame and not from pride, from experience. You learned somewhere around the middle that a number changes how people look at you long before they ever change their minds. And then one ordinary year, the top, $1 million a year, the number that once sounded like another planet. And it arrives feeling more than anything like a Tuesday, quieter than the dream, lighter, and strangely almost exactly like the year before. The number you chased for 15 years does not feel the way you imagined. There is no trumpet, no new self waiting at the top, just you, the same walk, the same coffee, and the quiet, useful discovery that the summit was never where the peace lived. So what did the climb from 30,000 to 1,000,000 actually change? Not you, not your walk, your jokes, your fears at 3 a.m. It changed what the world offered you and what it quietly expected back. The number moved. The man mostly stayed. Here's what 15 years finally taught you. The winner was never the highest salary. It was the widest gap between what you earned and what you spent. A river is not measured by how much flows in. It is measured by how much you keep. Run the honest math. A person earning 60,000 who keeps 40% will quietly outfree a person earning 1,000,000 who keeps nothing. Salary is the noise. The keep rate is the signal. And almost nobody is taught to listen for the signal. There is one line that matters more than any salary. The day the money you already have quietly earns more than the effort you sell. Cross that line at 60,000 or 1,000,000, it does not care. On the far side of it, your time finally belongs to you. So you make a quiet peace with looking like less than you are. The plain car and a lot of loud ones. The modest place. Not from fear, but from strategy. Every dollar you do not spend proving something buys back a piece of a life that is finally yours. And the strangest reward is who you quietly become. Someone the next tier can no longer rattle. A bigger number stops feeling like rescue and starts feeling like noise. You stop climbing to be saved because somewhere on the ladder you quietly saved yourself. If the climb taught you one thing, it is this. Every rung lied about the top. Each one promised that the next number was the one that would finally feel like enough. Enough was never a salary. It was a decision, and you could have made it years ago. At 400,000, the money finally outpaces the need if you let it. For the first time, the question is no longer, can I afford this? It is, what am I actually buying? And the honest answer most days is other people's attention. Stand two people at $1,000,000 a year, side by side. One owns almost nothing. The house is leased, the car is financed. The watch is a payment. The other owns his mornings, same income. One is rented to his life. The other quietly owns his. So burn this into memory. Your salary is not your wealth. It never was. Wealth is what quietly stays after the world takes its cut, and your wants take theirs. A high salary with no gap is just a fast car with no brakes and no destination. Add up what looking rich actually cost you, not just the money. The years chained to a salary you could not leave. The nights spent proving. Looking wealthy and being free turned out to be two different purchases, and most people only ever afford the first. Real freedom, you learn, is not the bigger yes. It is the calm no. The promotion you can decline. The upgrade you let pass. The job you could walk from tomorrow. When your life stops depending on the next raise, the whole ladder loses its grip on you. And here's the thing the ladder never tells you. Enough was never a salary you would eventually reach. It was a decision you could have made at any tier. The people who found it early did not earn their way to peace. They simply chose to stop moving the line. So before you chase the next tier, sit with one honest question. If your salary doubled tomorrow, would your life actually get better? Or would it just get more expensive and leave you standing on a higher rung quietly wanting the very same thing? At every salary level, there's a version of looking fine that costs more than it gives back. At 30,000, it is the dinner you cannot afford. At 80,000, it is the apartment you chose because coworkers might visit. At 200,000, it becomes a lifestyle so polished that leaving the job feels impossible. The trap changes its clothes as income rises. The pressure does not disappear, it becomes better dressed. A bigger paycheck can buy comfort, but it can also buy a more expensive cage if every raise is spent proving you deserve it. The people who become hard to control are not always the people who earn the most. They are the people who keep a gap between what arrives and what leaves. That gap is boring. It does not photograph well. It sits in an account, buys time, and quietly refuses to panic. A modest earner with room can turn down bad work. A high earner with no room must keep smiling at things they hate. Your salary matters, but the space between your life and your income is what eventually decides who owns the calendar. There's a point where the job finally pays enough to make leaving feel dangerous. The title gets better. The office gets nicer. The benefits start sounding like a reason to postpone your own life. This is not failure. It is a test. You can enjoy a better income without letting it write a contract for your future. Keep asking one quiet question: if this paycheck disappeared, what parts of my life would I still choose? The answer shows you whether the raise bought freedom or simply upgraded the handcuffs. The best salary is not necessarily the biggest number you can announce. It is the one that leaves enough after taxes, debt, housing, and ego for your future to get a vote. It funds the boring transfers. It gives you a little runway when life turns. It lets you walk into a meeting without needing every person in the room to approve you. That is the level worth climbing toward. Not untouchable on paper, unbuyable in private. Build the gap slowly, and one day the number on your offer letter will stop telling the whole story. A good income should make your life more flexible, not more fragile. So each time the number rises, pause before the upgrade and ask what this extra money could buy besides a nicer appearance. It could buy an emergency fund that lets you sleep. It could buy a skill that makes your job less replaceable. It could buy a smaller debt balance, a less crowded calendar, or the confidence to tell a manager that a boundary matters. Those returns rarely look exciting in a group photo. They become visible only when something goes wrong and you discover that your life has room. The salary ladder is not a race to the top floor. It is a chance to widen the space under your feet while you climb. Keep one part of every raise private. Let it become the future version of you who can choose a lower pressure job, leave a bad room, or stay home when someone needs you. That is the wealth hidden inside a number, not the title, not the car. The option to live without performing desperation for anyone.